How did a young man become one of the wisest and most influential kings in history? Solomon, the son of David, inherited a kingdom in turmoil but transformed Israel with his unmatched wisdom. In this video, we'll explore Solomon's journey from humble beginnings to becoming the king who built a legacy of peace, prosperity, and divine insight. By watching, you'll discover the timeless lessons of wisdom, leadership, and discernment that Solomon's life offers. Have you ever faced a difficult decision and wished for divine guidance? Solomon's wisdom will inspire you to seek God's direction in your own life, especially in times of uncertainty. Before we begin, make sure to like and subscribe. Your support helps spread this powerful message to others who need to hear it. Let's dive into the incredible story of Solomon's wisdom together. The transition of power after the death of King David was a pivotal moment for the nation of Israel. David, having established a strong and prosperous kingdom, passed away, leaving his son Solomon to take the throne. Despite being young and relatively inexperienced, Solomon was chosen by God to continue his father's legacy. This was made possible not only because he was David's son but also because of God's divine plan. Solomon's ascension to the throne was marked by both political maneuvering and divine intervention, as there was some conflict over who would succeed David. However, Solomon emerged as the chosen king, and his reign began under God's providence. One of the most significant moments in Solomon's early reign came when God offered him anything he desired. Instead of asking for wealth, power, or long life, Solomon asked for wisdom to govern God's people. In 1 Kings 3 verses 5 to 14, Solomon's prayer for wisdom was answered by God, who granted him not only wisdom but also wealth and honor beyond measure. This moment was a turning point in Solomon's reign, as it established the foundation for his success. His request for wisdom showed his humility and recognition of the responsibility he carried as a ruler. It was a selfless decision that would lead to his fame and the prosperity of Israel. Solomon's decision to ask for wisdom over material things was a clear reflection of his heart. He understood that his primary duty was to lead God's people wisely, and he sought God's guidance for this monumental task. This request for wisdom was a demonstration of his faith in God's provision and his commitment to following God's will. Solomon's leadership, from this point forward, was deeply rooted in his desire to honor God and his people. His reign was characterized by thoughtful decisions and fair judgment, and this wisdom was what set him apart from other rulers. Maintaining a deep connection with God was essential to Solomon's reign. Throughout his rule, Solomon sought to build and maintain his relationship with God, ensuring that his decisions aligned with divine will. Solomon's wisdom was not just about intellect, it was about discerning God's guidance in matters of governance, justice, and diplomacy. This connection with God is exemplified in the building of the Temple in Jerusalem, a project that Solomon undertook with God's blessing. His relationship with God was the bedrock of his reign, and it brought both peace and prosperity to Israel. As Solomon's reign progressed, his deep faith in God continued to shape his decisions. His ability to govern wisely and justly, and his success in building alliances with neighboring kingdoms, was a direct result of his reliance on God's wisdom. The peace that Israel experienced under Solomon was not just a product of his diplomatic skills, but also of his spiritual foundation. Solomon's wisdom allowed him to rule with fairness, and his decisions were often guided by a sense of divine responsibility. His leadership was not just political, it was deeply spiritual. Solomon's connection with God and his reliance on divine wisdom became the hallmark of his reign. It was this relationship that enabled him to lead Israel through one of its most prosperous times in history. However, as with all leaders, his story serves as a reminder that wisdom and divine guidance must continually be sought. Solomon's early years as king show us the importance of starting strong in our relationship with God, trusting in his guidance and wisdom for our paths. It is through this connection that we, too, can navigate life's challenges and make decisions that honor God. One of the most famous stories that showcases Solomon's extraordinary wisdom is the case of the two women who came to him, each claiming to be the mother of the same baby. In 1 Kings 3 verses 16 to 28, Solomon was faced with a difficult situation where two women argued over the ownership of a child. Instead of making a rash decision, Solomon proposed a clever solution. He suggested dividing the baby in two, giving each woman half of the child. The true mother immediately offered to give up her claim to save the child's life, revealing her identity to Solomon. This wise judgment not only settled the dispute but also demonstrated Solomon's deep understanding of human nature and his ability to discern the truth in complex situations. In addition to this famous case, Solomon's wisdom extended to many other aspects of governance. He implemented reforms that improved Israel's administration and economy. Solomon made wise decisions in managing the nation's resources and expanded trade with neighboring kingdoms, which brought wealth and prosperity to Israel. His ability to make sound judgments in matters of statecraft ensured stability and peace during his reign. Solomon also established a system of governors and officials that helped to manage the vast kingdom more effectively, allowing Israel to flourish under his leadership. Solomon's wisdom was not limited to legal matters or political governance. His intellectual prowess also influenced Israel's cultural and spiritual life. One of the most enduring legacies of Solomon's wisdom is the Book of Proverbs, a collection of sayings and teachings that continue to offer practical guidance for living a righteous and wise life. Proverbs addresses various aspects of daily life, from relationships and family to work and justice. Solomon's ability to impart timeless wisdom through these proverbs has made him one of the most recognized figures in the history of literature and spirituality. The Book of Proverbs highlights the importance of wisdom in all areas of life. Solomon's teachings encourage people to seek wisdom as a valuable treasure, offering guidance on how to live harmoniously with others and with God. Many of the Proverbs emphasize the fear of the Lord as the beginning of wisdom, reminding readers that true wisdom comes from a relationship with God. The Proverbs continue to inspire people of all faiths and backgrounds, offering practical insights that apply to everyday decisions. As a leader, Solomon stood out not only for his intellectual abilities but also for his spiritual insight. His wisdom allowed him to bridge the gap between practical matters and spiritual truths. He knew that a wise ruler must seek both knowledge and understanding, as well as divine guidance, to govern justly. Solomon's reliance on God for wisdom helped him make decisions that honored the Lord and benefited his people. His example teaches us that true wisdom comes from a combination of learning, faith, and a willingness to serve others. Through his wisdom, Solomon left a lasting legacy that continues to impact the world today. His judgments and teachings shaped Israel's history, and his proverbs remain a valuable source of wisdom for modern readers. Solomon's ability to discern and lead with integrity showed that wisdom is not only about knowledge but also about making decisions that honor God and benefit those around us. His reign stands as a testament to the power of wisdom in leadership and the importance of seeking God's guidance in all areas of life. One of Solomon's greatest achievements was the construction of the Temple in Jerusalem. The temple was not only a magnificent architectural wonder, but also a profound symbol of God's presence among the people of Israel. In 1 Kings 6, we learn that Solomon spared no expense in building the temple, using the finest materials and skilled craftsmen. This temple became the center of worship for the Israelites, where they could offer sacrifices and connect with God. It was a place of holiness and reverence, marking Israel's special relationship with God and their commitment to His covenant. The building of the temple was a monumental task, but it was also a demonstration of Solomon's wisdom in leadership. He understood that a stable and prosperous nation needed a central place of worship and a symbol of divine favor. The temple served not only as a spiritual hub, but also as a sign of Solomon's authority and the flourishing of Israel under his reign. It was a place where the people could come together in worship, strengthening the national identity and unity of Israel. Beyond his religious achievements, Solomon also made great strides in foreign relations. He expanded the boundaries of Israel through strategic alliances with neighboring nations, helping to secure peace and prosperity. In 1 Kings 10 verses 14 to 29, we see that Solomon's reputation as a wise and powerful ruler reached far beyond Israel's borders. He formed diplomatic ties with other powerful kings, such as the Queen of Sheba, who visited Solomon to witness his wisdom and the wealth of his kingdom. These alliances not only brought peace but also facilitated trade, allowing Israel to prosper through commerce with foreign nations. Solomon's reign was marked by a flourishing economy, much of which was driven by trade. As part of his diplomatic efforts, Solomon established trade routes and negotiated with other nations for goods and resources. The wealth generated from this commerce flowed into Israel, enabling Solomon to build magnificent palaces and infrastructure, further elevating the status of the nation. The nation's economy flourished during Solomon's reign, largely due to his wisdom in managing resources and his ability to navigate complex international relations. The peace that Solomon maintained during much of his reign was another key factor in the prosperity of Israel. By forming strategic alliances and establishing trade relationships, Solomon was able to avoid major conflicts and keep Israel stable. This period of peace allowed the people of Israel to thrive economically and spiritually. Solomon's leadership created an environment where Israel could grow and prosper, unburdened by constant warfare, which had plagued earlier periods of the nation's history. Solomon's wealth and the prosperity of Israel during his reign became a testament to his wisdom and leadership. His ability to secure peace, expand Israel's influence, and manage the economy laid the foundation for Israel's golden age. However, it was not just material wealth that defined Solomon's success. It was also the peace, spiritual unity, and wisdom that he brought to the nation. Solomon's reign stands as a powerful example of how wisdom, when applied correctly, can lead to both spiritual and material prosperity. As Solomon's reign continued, his relationship with God began to weaken. Over time, influenced by his many foreign wives, Solomon allowed the worship of foreign gods to take root in Israel. In 1 Kings 11 verses 1-13, we read how Solomon built high places for these gods, defying the commandment that Israel should worship only the Lord. This shift in his spiritual life marked the beginning of his downfall. Despite his wisdom, Solomon allowed his desire for political alliances and personal comforts to cloud his commitment to God. His actions showed that even the wisest leaders can falter when they stray from their spiritual foundation. The consequences of Solomon's choices were far-reaching. His decision to embrace foreign gods and make political alliances at the cost of his faith in God led to the division of the kingdom after his death. When Solomon passed away, his son Rehoboam took the throne, but due to Solomon's failure to maintain unity and faithfulness, the kingdom was torn in two. Israel in the north and Judah in the south became separate kingdoms, a division that weakened the nation and led to ongoing strife. Solomon's unwise decisions about his spiritual commitments and foreign relationships ultimately led to the disintegration of what had been a unified and prosperous kingdom. Solomon's decline teaches us powerful lessons about leadership and faith. Even though he had great wisdom, he failed to apply it fully in his personal life and his relationship with God. His story reminds us that wisdom and success are not enough if they are not grounded in a consistent and faithful relationship with God. Solomon's life warns us that a leader's personal decisions, especially regarding faith, can shape the future of a nation. The division of Israel after his death shows how one person's choices can have long-lasting effects on the lives of many. The decline of Solomon also highlights the importance of staying true to one's values and spiritual commitments. It's easy to be swayed by external pressures, whether they are political, social, or personal, but Solomon's example shows that neglecting our core beliefs can have devastating consequences. We must remember that maintaining integrity and faith is crucial, not only for our own well-being but also for the stability of those around us. Solomon's story teaches us that our decisions, no matter how small, can have a ripple effect that impacts generations to come. One of the key lessons from Solomon's life is the importance of maintaining faithfulness in all areas of life. His story reminds us that wisdom should not be compartmentalized. It must be applied to both our spiritual and personal decisions. Solomon's wisdom was a gift from God, but it needed to be sustained by his obedience and commitment to God's commands. As leaders, as individuals, and as members of a community, we are called to make choices that reflect our faith and our trust in God's guidance. Solomon's story ultimately serves as a warning and an encouragement. While his wisdom brought Israel to great heights, his failure to stay faithful to God led to the kingdom's division. We are reminded that, no matter how wise or powerful we may become, our relationship with God must always remain at the center of our lives. As we face decisions in our own lives, We must learn from Solomon's mistakes and strive to lead with integrity, wisdom, and an unwavering commitment to our faith. In conclusion, Solomon's life was one of extraordinary wisdom and remarkable achievements. From the moment he ascended to the throne, Solomon was marked by his humility and wisdom, as seen when he asked God for wisdom instead of wealth or power. His reign brought peace, prosperity, and impressive accomplishments, such as the construction of the magnificent temple in Jerusalem and the expansion of Israel's influence. Yet, despite these successes, Solomon faced significant challenges, especially toward the end of his reign. His decision to allow the worship of foreign gods led to his spiritual decline, ultimately resulting in the division of the kingdom after his death. Solomon's life is a reminder of both the heights of wisdom and the dangers of neglecting our spiritual foundations. The story of Solomon challenges us to reflect on the role wisdom plays in our lives. His ability to make wise decisions transformed Israel and left a lasting impact. However, his downfall teaches us that wisdom must be accompanied by faithfulness to God. Solomon's decisions about his relationships, worship, and leadership all had lasting effects, demonstrating how every choice, big or small, shapes our future. As we navigate our own lives, we can look to Solomon's wisdom as an example of how to make decisions that honor God and benefit those around us. Reflecting on Solomon's life encourages us to seek wisdom in all aspects of life. Whether it's making decisions in our personal lives, professional endeavors, or spiritual journey, the lessons from Solomon remind us of the importance of discernment and integrity. We must be diligent in our pursuit of wisdom, always remembering that it is ultimately God who provides the guidance we need. Solomon's ability to seek wisdom from God and apply it in leadership serves as a powerful model for us today. We also learn from Solomon that our relationship with God is the key to sustaining wisdom. While Solomon's wisdom was unparalleled, his failure to stay true to God's commands led to consequences that affected the future of Israel. This serves as a reminder that our relationship with God must remain at the center of our lives. Wisdom alone is not enough. It must be nurtured and sustained through faithful obedience and a deep commitment to God's will. As we reflect on Solomon's life, we are encouraged to apply the lessons he learned to our own journeys. The story of Solomon shows us that wisdom, when applied with humility and faith, can bring great success and peace. However, it also reminds us that wisdom without faithfulness to God can lead to downfall. We are called to seek wisdom not just for personal gain, but to honor God and serve others with integrity and love. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with friends who might benefit from Solomon's story of wisdom and leadership. I encourage you to leave a comment below and share what you've learned from Solomon's life and how these lessons can impact your own spiritual journey. Let's continue to grow together in wisdom and faith.